Okay, I had a couple questions over power and quotient rules. So I wanted to go over those. Your power rule says that if you have a base like A and that's raised to a power, let's say n, and then that expression is raised to another power, let's say m, then you get your base A and you multiply the two powers together. There's another one called the product of a power, and this one says that if you have two bases, like let's say A times B, and it's raised to an m, then both of the factors on the inside get the power. So if those factors on the inside have powers, like this one does, then you would multiply the two powers together. So these two rules are what you need to know in the quotient rule in order to do these next few problems. So the quotient rule says that if you have a base like A raised to a power over the same base raised to a power, the base stays the same and you subtract the two powers. Okay, so there are your rules. Okay, so now let's look at a problem that involves both rules. So if I am asked to simplify p to the negative 4 over 4p to the negative 3, and that is being squared. There's a couple of ways you could do it. You could simplify on the inside first and then use the power rule, the product of a power, quotient of a power. I like to go ahead and take care of this outside power first, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the p to the negative 4 and I'm going to raise that to the outside power. And then I'm going to take the 4 and raise that to the outside power, and the p to the negative 3 and raise that to the outside power. So if you notice now, I've got these, I call them superpowers. So this p has a double power or superpower. That tells me that I'm supposed to multiply the two powers together. Same thing here. I've got a double power or superpower, so I'm supposed to multiply those two powers or exponents together. So simplifying, I get p to the negative 8, because negative 4 times 2 is negative 8, over 4 squared is 16, that's 4 times 4, and p to the negative 3 to the second, I multiply those two powers together, so that's negative 6. So at this time I can now use the quotient rule, and the quotient rule says that if I have bases of the same, then what I do is I take that base and I subtract the two powers. So here's my top power, negative 8, here's my bottom power, negative 6, and I'm supposed to subtract those. So we all know that a negative negative makes a positive. So this is negative 8 plus 6, which would be p to the negative 2. So what happens is I've got in the denominator, that 16 is still down there in the denominator, and now I've got to take care of this p to the negative 2, which says it's going to go down to the denominator, that p squared, and so this one would be 1 over 16 p squared. So 1 over 16 p squared. Remember this, when you simplify using the quotient rule, if you come up with a power that's negative, that means that that base goes to the denominator.